guys, Jessica from Peace Love Books, and same here with the second half of my August wrap up. I did the first half already and I read 20 books in the first half of August, which is nuts, but I was at the very end of my summer off from school because I'm a teacher, so I was a reading machine. I was reading a ton. I still read 15 books in the second half of August, which is amazing. I do read a lot of audiobooks and then read physical books, so I have a lot to get to, and I had a read along that ended, so I think 2 of the books are from that read along, and then I did a couple of reading vlogs and my book clubs. I'll go ahead and get to all the books I read in the second half of August. So the first book I read was Perfect Love Story, as I drop my phone, by Natasha Madison. This one I listened to on audio because I'm really interested in Natasha Madison's other series with the super pretty covers, but my friend Tori from Novel Life hated book 1, so I'm very nervous to get into that one, but I also didn't have the audio of those. My library had the audio of this series, and this one is a very emotional small town romance. So our heroine, it starts out with her husband dying, and she figured out that her husband of a year had another family and she was the mistress, and they weren't actually married, and he had a wife and kids, and so she's horrified, and they end up putting a restraining order on her because they don't want her anywhere near them, so she can't go to the funeral, anything. So she decides to go to a small beach town and live in this house, and she goes with her friend, and she is like, I don't remember what she does for her job, but she's working, I think, virtually. And she moves into this home, which is actually the old home of our hero, who's a single dad. His wife left him, and the house is where he used to live, and he has very bad memories because he is really resentful of his wife that left him. And so he's very grumpy. They meet. The heroine instantly clicks with the little girl because they still live by each other, and she sees her on the beach a lot. And it was super sweet. I ended up giving it a really high 4 out of 5 stars. I think they got in love like a little too quickly. Like, boom, they decided they liked each other, and then it was like full speed ahead. But I really love how both of them had very damaged pasts, so they were really hesitant to trust people, especially on the heroine's part. Like, typically it's the hero who can't trust and love, which we did have that, but the heroine literally like was completely lied to. I would never be able to trust a single person ever again in my life if that had happened to me. So I really liked her growth through the book. I really liked them falling for each other in the daughter's role as well, and it was just really sweet. I'm really excited to read more from the series, and I just really enjoyed it. I might check out that other series that Tori didn't love because I've seen other people reading it and loving it, but this one I'm really happy I picked up, and I'll probably continue on reading the series. Then on audio I listened to Heart Recaptured by Tilly Cole. This is book 2 in the Hades Hangman series, and I have them from the Audible sale that happened a while ago, and I was really disappointed in this one. I know people love book 3. I gave book 1 5 stars. This one I think I'm gonna give like 3 stars. It's more so because I don't love when we see on page the hero sleeping with other people, and our hero in here is definitely someone who gets around, especially with these 2 girls in the club, and we see that a lot even when the heroine ends up moving into the club. The heroine was a sister from the heroine from book 1. They all escaped a cult, but only the heroine in book 1 really like voluntarily escaped the cult. The rest, something happens where they don't fully believe in like outside of the cult stuff, so they don't believe their cult's bad, and so our heroine has a really hard time trusting and believing in these like motorcycle people, and she's like, they are all like Satan, like they're all the evil, and I can't trust them, and bad things happen to her. Like, these are very dark romances, and because of actions of the hero, our heroine goes through really bad things. She's assaulted multiple times in here, and one of the reasons is because of the hero, and I really hated that he didn't protect her, and it was because of him, and I just had a really hard time liking him and caring about the romance as much. So this one I'm giving 3 out of 5 stars, and it's just like, it's like the gritty MC where they definitely sleep around a ton, and you really see that, and they're very violent, and they get angry about things, and so I am used to like the not as gritty, dark kind of MC, and that's what this is, and this one especially was that. Like, book 1 I feel like wasn't as much because the hero was so in love with the heroine from the start. In this one he's super enamored with her but doesn't like make a move or anything, and like continues on his ways, and so it was just okay. And like, there was like a suspense in here having to do with the cult and the heroine getting into sticky situations, but like, again, I wasn't like obsessed with the romance, so I didn't really care about them finding their happily ever after together, so I give this 3 out of 5 stars. My least favorite in this series so far, but I'm very excited for the next book because it's a very damaged hero, and the heroine really likes him, so very excited for that one. Then I started my reading vlog where I read books that Tori picked out for me. I'm doing a new series on my channel where I'm doing like my battle of the book 2 besties. They are gonna pick my TBR 3 books, and they get points, and we'll see who is best at picking up books for me. So Tori was first up. She picked for me Owned by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd, and I was really excited because this is a mafia romance, and it started out really good, and the heroine is secretly the baby of a guy in the mafia, mafia, but she's like not a baby anymore. She was like a secret child, and her dad has kept that life of his away from her, so she has no idea her dad's in the mafia. She gets a job at this like corporate building as a secretary, and it's for the head of the mafia. So her dad is like, don't work for those people, and she's like, why not? It's a really good job, and like I have opportunity to grow, and she's really excited. But then the brother of the guy who owns the mafia, he works there too, and he's awful, and the hero hates him, but he is putting his eyes on her heroine, and he's like, you're gonna be mine and you'll do what I want, and he's like, and if you don't, I'm gonna kill your mom. And so she is horrified and feels like she has to like do what he says, but she feels really safe with the hero who can't touch people, but for some reason he can touch her. And I love the beginning half. The second half I just didn't love as much. I feel like we didn't get a lot of depth in the characters. We didn't get to learn about them as much. We didn't get to learn about the hero, why he really hated touching people and how he like lived that way so far, and why the heroine was so different for him. We didn't even really learn a lot about the heroine and her connection with her dad. Like, there was so much more I wanted out of this book, and it became very insta-love once they decided to be together, but this one was more so. So I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I was really enjoying the beginning, and then it just like lost my interest, and I just like, I wanted a little bit more. So I might continue on the series. I'm not sure. I know this is book 2, but let me know what your favorite in the series is and what I should read if I didn't love this one. Then I ended up listening to the audiobook of Steadfast by Serena Bowen, which, funny story, I read this in 2017 and had no idea. So I read Bittersweet and loved it way back when, and I was like, I need to continue the series soon, especially because I'm loving small town romances, and it's a small town romance series. And so this one follows a guy who had worked on their farm in book 1, but it is off season, so he's not working there anymore, and he is a recovering drug addict, and him and the heroine have a history together. They were dating when he was a drug addict in high school, and he wrecked a car and killed her brother. So he went to jail. I believe her father, yes, works for the police as well. So her parents are very overbearing on her, and she doesn't have the best home life, and she's working, and the hero comes back into town, and I had no recollection of this book until the end. Like, I was like, oh, some of those things kind of I remember, but it's been 5 years, so I had no idea I already read this book. And it was super sweet. I really loved having a hero who is a recovering drug addict. He is going to meetings, and there's an instance where he has to go to the hospital, and he's like, I can't have drugs. Like, I have been clean for like 3 months. Like, this will set me back. And it was just heartbreaking to read about a hero like that. And she had loved him when he was a drug addict, and so now she is learning about him as this new person and trying to also uncover things that had happened in the past that were secrets. And so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really sweet small town romance. I did enjoy the heroine standing up to her family and uncovering secrets that they had, and the hero just trying to show the heroine that he is a good person and that he has changed and that he does regret the things that they did together, but they still have that explosive chemistry and connection that they had when they were younger. So I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to continue on the series. Then the second book for Tori's video, I read Bright Like Wildfire by Juliet Cross. This one is Juliet's small town romance, and it takes place in, I believe, Louisiana, and it was very cute. So the heroine is a teacher. A lot of this revolves around like adult theater. So in their spare time, the hero owns a really popular grocery store in town, and in their spare time they are acting with each other. They are both the leads. She hates him though for something really kind of dumb that he did as kids, and she has held a grudge ever since. That was a little annoying, but it was a really, really sweet romance. They end up really falling for each other and having to be in this play together, and then kind of working through their feelings through this play, which was really fun. I just feel like the whole like adults in a play thing is, because I'm a high school teacher, so whenever I think of plays I think of like high school productions, but I think like a community theater just like screams small town, and I thought that was a really cozy and sweet, so I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I did enjoy just the fun time that it was. Like, I don't know anything else I can say about it. It was just a fun small town romance that I enjoyed. The last book I read for that one was Ivy by Will and Ash. I gave it 5 stars. It was so entertaining. It is in college, and our heroine is someone who is making her way through college. She doesn't have a lot of money, and she gets invited to stay in this like manor, and she's like, there is no way this is where I'm staying. This is way too expensive. And then she's like, gets an ominous kind of response from one of her roommates saying, oh, well, our other roommate likes to play, as in like play games, and you're not gonna last long. And so she's horrified, like, what is gonna happen? I have no idea. So it kind of felt like it was a setup for like a thriller movie or book. It wasn't. And the heroine just likes to really like mess with people's heads. heads and like destroy their lives. And so this goes on from there, and it's very messy. They all have these like forbidden romances they're in, especially with like someone who was older, someone who was a roommate's brother, but I loved all the relationships. I loved the secrets. I loved how the one heroine who had moved in was like, I'm not gonna take your crap from you. I'm not gonna be scared of you. Like, I don't care. And it was just so much fun to read. I literally read this all in like one day. One, I had to get the vlog up because it was going up the same day Tori's was, but I also couldn't put it down. I didn't feel like I was reading a 500-page book. I just really loved all of the romances, especially the one with the older brother. I really, really loved. And there's like, they're all about this nightlife, like this club that they all go to. They're all almost all very rich, so they do whatever they want. But I had a lot of fun. And like so there's lots of tropes. Roommate's brother, we have best friend's brother, age gap, forbidden, and then we have brother's best friend, and they were just like messy romances that all turned out great in the end, and I had a lot of fun, so I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Fallen Jester by Devney Perry. This is book 5 in the read-along that we did for the Clifton Forge series. I gave this one 3 stars. This one was a one that was very boring to me. This one revolved around an accidental pregnancy. We knew at the end of book 4 that the heroine was pregnant, and the entire book was about her being pregnant and the hero trying to be there for her and her not being able to trust him and her running back to her parents' house and then him trying to prove that he'll be there for her. I could care less. I'm someone who does not love an accidental pregnancy romance, and I was bored out of my mind in this. Cassie was fine. She didn't do a whole lot, and there wasn't a lot in the overarching MC plot, motorcycle romance plot, so it just felt like it was a book to get to the end. Like, nothing really happened to advance the whole plot of the series, and so I was just bored, and I was like, I could care less. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, more like 2.5. Like, I'm glad I had the audiobook, or else it would have been very hard for me to get through the rest. Then I read Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. I listened to this on audio, and this one unfortunately is a 3-star read for me. It was just so generic and boring, and I feel like it just was on the surface level of, we're having a bakery and she has to work there. She's a rich spoiled girl, and her grandma's like, in order to get your money you gotta go work at this bakery, so she does. And the hero is a football player, and they start liking each other even though they met and like had a really bad experience because she was super mean to him, and now they're like liking each other. It just felt like very formulaic and just like been there, done that. Nothing that was keeping my attention. My mind drifted so much while I was reading this. Like, I didn't love the characters. Nothing was like holding me on the book. It just was generic. It was just, I don't know. And that's why I haven't been reading a lot of traditionally published romance lately, is because they all just feel the same, and like it's just giving you a formula because you have these romance readers who are new to the genre. Here's a illustrated cover. It's fake dating. Read it. They do fake date in here. I didn't care. So I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. I really wanted to love it. I think the cover is super cute and I was excited, but it just didn't hold my attention. Then I read Tin Queen by Devney Perry, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. It was such a good end to the series. This one's definitely my favorite. It has to do with the daughter of the rival MC club that has been the rival the entire time, and she is so angry that her dad, something happened to her dad. I don't want to spoil it, but she is so angry she's gonna get revenge on our hero, and so she decides to sleep with the enemy, literally, and falls for him. And it's so angsty and so good, and he is someone who is used to like being on his own, sleeping around. He just likes his alone time. He's fine just hooking up with people and just never settling down, but he is so into our heroine when she starts coming around and they start hooking up, and he's like, I don't want her to leave. And so they start falling really hard for each other, and she is like, but he's the one that's the reason why my family fell apart and why everything happened. And it was so good. Like, now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, this is a 5-star read. Like, I was obsessed. I love this so much, and the fact that there were secrets at the end that just like blew my mind, and I was like, no way. I thought it was a great wrap up to the entire series. I did not need all the epilogues and how many babies everybody has and everybody's pregnant, but I loved the journey I went on this book, and all the secrets and the heroine's dilemma of, she didn't like the fact that she was like sleeping with the enemy to get closer to him, to destroy him, but then these secrets came out and she's questioning everything, and then more secrets come out and she questions more things, and then she's falling for the person that she knows destroyed her family. So it was very good. I loved though also how this series is really a lot about family, and even you don't need that motorcycle club to have that family aspect, and it's super found family. It was so good. Overall, I really love the series. I had 3 of them that I think I gave either 4.5 or 5 stars, 2 that were like real misses, and then 1 that was a 4-star. So overall, 4 out of the 6 were really great, so I definitely recommend the series. Then I read Count Your Lucky Stars by Alexandra Bellafleur. This one was super cute. It is a sapphic romance, and I listened to the audiobook. So our one heroine, I believe, is a wedding planner, and she's planning the wedding of the couple from book 2. I skipped book 2. I only read book 1, but I loved book 1. And so the characters, a lot of them work with like astrology and like, I think it's matchmaking or something, some kind of app. And so the one heroine is in this wedding and she works on the app, and the 2 heroines know each other. So they actually were best friends in high school, and the one heroine had a long-term boyfriend. They broke up. Over spring break, the 2 heroines ended up hooking up, and they spent all week together. They loved their time together. They were really into each other, but then miscommunication happens and the other heroine gets back with her boyfriend, marries him, and now she's divorced from him, and she is like, I had the worst marriage ever, and he still will not leave her alone though. Like, he calls her and texts her for everything, and she has a dad who is really close with him, and she feels like she has to keep on answering this guy in case something happens to her dad. And so now they are reunited though, her and the girl from her past, because she is in this wedding and they have to spend a lot of time together. And so the wedding is super important to her to plan because it is a huge wedding that she's taking on for her company, and they just spend a lot of time together, and it is so good. I really like how they just had this immediate chemistry because they kept on remembering their time together when they were in high school, and they were just like, I really like you, but like, this is really awkward because we never talked about it and it just ended, and I don't know where you are, where I am. It was so cute. I loved it. Definitely very steamy as well, which I really enjoyed. I loved their connection so much. They had so much chemistry together, like I said, and they're always around each other because of this wedding, and I love a good wedding romance. So the friends are getting married and they're in here a lot as well, and she's also dealing with her ex and trying to stand up to him, and also her dad, taking care of her dad, and I just really had a lot of fun. This has a really fun friend group too, so I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommend. Then I listened to the audiobook of Lotus Effect by Trisha Wolfe, and I have honestly not even thought about my rating of this one. So this one, as a romance, it's really lacking, but as a true crime mystery thriller romance, it was really entertaining. So our heroine's actually a true crime writer because she was kidnapped and almost killed a few years ago, and she was left for dead, and someone found her and she survived. And so now she writes true crime and works with a detective to solve these true crime cases, and they've solved all but like 2 crimes they've worked on together. The romance is between her and the detective, but the romance is really lackluster. Like, they work together and then they end up sleeping together and they fell in love, and I'm like, okay, where did that come from? It mostly revolves around this new case they're working on that is eerily similar to her own, and all these things start getting connected, and then she starts seeing these coincidences, and she's like, there's never such thing as a coincidence. And so slowly they unravel this case and help try to find out what happened to her as well. I'm giving it 4 stars. I think that the plot was really entertaining. It was a pretty short audiobook. I listened to almost all of it in a day, and I thought it was just engaging, and I was really intrigued by the mystery and what was what. So I really enjoyed that, but like I said, the romance was like non-existent. So this is not really a romantic suspense. It's definitely more of a mystery and a little bit of a thriller. Like, yeah, she gets kidnapped at the end, so there is that, but I was definitely engaged the whole time trying to figure out like what had happened to her, how she's connected to this new case. I love the fact that she's a true crime writer, and the hero, the detective, was really protective of her. So it was fun. 4 stars. The next book I read is Does It Hurt by H.G. Carlton. This is my book club pick with Ravished by Romance. We had definitely an interesting discussion. This one I gave 3.5 stars. So it's marketed as like the psychological thriller, and everybody that was reading it that I saw was like, it's crazy and it's so good. I was bored through most of it. So I heard there were sharks and it was gonna be like really scary, but the heroine does something. I don't want to say what she does, but it's really lackluster compared to what like the synopsis says. She does something to betray the hero, and they had one night stand. She does something and he's like, I hate her, I'm gonna get revenge. And so they meet again, and he decides to pretty much kidnap her on this boat, almost kill her with sharks, but then they get shipwrecked because there's this huge storm he didn't see, and they end up on this island where this creepy guy is living in this lighthouse. Creepy things happen, and the most annoying thing is that they blamed it on ghosts. And I'm like, you saw it and heard it. You saw it and heard it. This creepy guy you're living with says it's ghosts of people who died there. We don't have any common sense to think maybe there's like actually something happening and we should either check it out or like try to escape. One of those two, they didn't. They sat around, they slept together a lot, including places this creepy guy could hear, and that was really, really creepy, and I was like, that's gross. So, I don't know. I wanted more sharks too. Like, once they were on the island, there were no more sharks. and I was like, you couldn't have added something a little cool. And then like the answer to some of the noises was like, duh, that was coming, and I was like not shocked or surprised by anything. I didn't feel like it was a psychological thriller at all. Everything happened super fast at the end. So I feel like maybe more like a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I kept on reading, but this was not as entertaining or fun or shocking as some people made it out to be. Then I read the audio of Nobody's Duke by Scarlett Scott. This book is a historical romance, so I'm finally reading some historicals next to our historical. This one I heard is like, again, the magic. And so our hero and our heroine were madly in love. We get kind of dual timeline where we see them falling in love in the past and then kind of like working up to what had drawn them apart and why they're together now. So our heroine married someone else. She has an 8-year-old kid. It comes out pretty early on that the child is actually his. So she had to get married because of this baby, and she had a really great husband. He's died, and he actually was murdered. And so people are trying to murder her and her son. Our hero works for like the crown or something, and he is her bodyguard. And they are instantly like, no, like he betrayed me. No, she betrayed me. So there's miscommunication over what actually happened. So we slowly unravel that, but they have such undeniable chemistry. They can't stay away from each other, even though they're angry at each other. They slowly start unwinding what had happened to them in the past and why it happened. The hero figures out about the child, and then he gets all angry, and it's very, very emotional and angsty. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. I think there wasn't as much action to the plot as I wanted to. Like there's this whole murder mystery happening, like who's trying to kill her? Are they gonna kill her? But like most of it takes place of them just like hanging out. And I would have liked a little bit more action happening, more things happening, but the romance was angsty and amazing. It was so good. I love a good second chance romance, and I loved everything about this book, so 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then I read A Whisper of Roses by Teresa Medeiros. This is my historical Hellions pick this month, and this one is a 4 out of 5 stars. It was so good. It is a Scottish romance, so our hero is a Scottish laird to like a crumbling keep. He does not have a lot of money, and so he grew up though with the heroine's clan, and they instantly hated each other. They like pull pranks on each other. They hate each other. Now they're adults, and he is back with his clan, and his father's murdered, and so as repayment for the murder of his father, he gets a bunch of stuff, including the heroine, to marry. They're gonna like have an alliance. It's about time. And so he makes a joke. He's like, I'd rather take the twice as many chickens than take your daughter. And she is like, I hate you so much. And so he ends up taking her back to his keep, and they have to be married. And he does not pressure her into anything physical. I loved their first night together where nothing happened, but like he made it look like it did just to protect her. And slowly they start falling for each other. But then this does take a turn in the 3rd part. It's divided into parts of the book where something tragic happens to her, and she's recovering from that, and she's in a very dark place, and the hero has to bring her out of it. That definitely changed the tone of the book, and I didn't love it as much because I really loved the beginning. It reminded me a lot of Julie Garwood, where there's a lot of humor. There is just so much tension between them. Very slow burn, great side characters, great side romances, but I wanted that throughout the whole book, and then it just like feel like it dragged and then finished up really quickly at the end. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoy this one. I still loved having a heroine with what happened to her, and she was the one who was like damaged and hardened because of what happened to her, and usually that's reversed. So I did appreciate having a heroine like that, but I just didn't love the tone shift of the book. But overall, 4 out of 5 stars. Then the last one I listened to is Legacy by Laura Pavlov. I want to try out more by this author, and this one was a 3-star read. It was just pretty average and boring. Our heroine owns a bakery, or she wants to, and so the hero is a millionaire. They are renting out like the lower shop of their like tower building thing that they own, and so they're interviewing all these people. The heroine comes in. She is the best out of all of them, so they hire her, and he instantly likes her. She instantly hates him, but he always comes by for like his coffee, and it was good, but like there was some like random like thriller aspects involved, which like I know a lot of small town authors do that, but it just seemed like way out of place, and it was like in the middle of the book. Normally it's kept to the end, and like that's when the hero's like, I need to find her, and so he was very protective, but I was just like bored. I was like, I don't love either of these characters. The romance is fine. I just like listened along, but nothing was special about it. I don't know if I'll continue on in the series. It was just okay, so I give it 3 out of 5 stars. And those are all the books that I read in August for the second half of August. I will link down below my first wrap up if you want to check it out. Let me know if you've read any of these or what your favorite of the month is. I would love to hear, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.